Hey there, Morbid Maniacs. It's time for another spooky video. And for tonight's spooky video, I'm going to be talking all about the exorcism of Annaliese Michel. Before I get started on this video, I just wanted to put a little disclaimer or a little warning in here and let you guys know that there is some disturbing stuff that we're going to be talking about in this video. So if that sort of thing triggers you, then I definitely would close out and try finding something else to watch. Anna Elizabeth Annaliese Michel was born on September 21st, 1952. She was the daughter of Joseph and Anna Michel. She was described as being bright, likable, and she lived in the small town of Kleinberg, Bavaria, Germany. Annaliese was very religious and grew up Catholic. For the most part, her life was like anyone else's. She was happy and full of life. However, that would quickly change in September of 1968, when Annaliese was only 16 years old. Annaliese would experience her first episode of losing consciousness. Later that night, she would describe a feeling as though someone was pressing down on her chest, almost pinning her to the bed. The following August of 1969, she would experience her second episode. This time, her mother would take her to see the family doctor, whose name was Dr. Vogt, and also a neurologist by the name of Dr. Luthi. The doctors would examine Annaliese, run lots of tests on her, do EEGs, brain scans, but would find nothing. They stated that they believed that she was having an epileptic seizure. Shortly after, she would be diagnosed with depression and would be treated at a psychiatric hospital. The 3 years after, Annaliese would experience even more episodes of unconsciousness. She would be prescribed 2 medications, an anticonvulsant medication and an anti-seizure medication called Dilaton. Each time Annaliese would be tested, and each time her results would come back normal, with a few irregular patterns. However, there would be nothing that gave a definite explanation to her symptoms. In the spring of 1973, things grew to be even more sinister. Annaliese would grow to be very sensitive to religious images such as the crucifix, and she would start complaining of knocking noises in her bedroom, and her siblings would also complain of these knocking noises as well. She even stated that she heard a voice which damned her to hell and told her that she was going to rot in hell. Her mother grew very concerned about her daughter at this point in time because she caught her furiously staring at a statue of Virgin Mary. She stated that her eyes grew to be jet black and her hands had turned into these big, thick paws which had claws protruding from them. A few months later, at her neurologist appointment, Annaliese had described seeing these demonic faces which tormented her. She also said that she felt as though the devil were inside of her. It was also during this time that Annaliese started complaining about the stench of burnt feces, and later on her family would also complain of the smell. Annaliese, along with her family, began to believe that she was possessed, which the doctor was said to later deny. The family would go on in search of their own priest and eventually would find one by the name of Father Alt. In November of 1973, Annaliese would meet with a Freudian psychiatrist who would diagnose the young woman as a neurotic with possible epilepsy. A separate neurologist would claim that she had epileptic patterns and would take her off the Dilaton. In July of 1975, Annaliese would grow even more strange behavior. She would barely sleep and would stay up all night long anxiously praying. She ate spiders and flies and would even lick her own urine off the floor. She also destroyed religious images such as crucifixes, rosaries, and holy pictures. Annaliese was described as having super strength, as she picked up her sister and threw her as if she were a rag doll. She was even spotted on one occasion holding an apple with one hand and squeezing it until it exploded all over the room. It was at this time that a priest by the name of Father Roderick, who was considered to be an expert on exorcisms, would intervene. He stated that he believed Annaliese was possessed. After getting the approval from the bishop, an exorcism on Annaliese would be approved. This exorcism was held by a priest named Father Renz. Annaliese would be exorcised for the first time on September 24, 1975. Father Renz would record some of the sessions, and altogether had 42 audio recordings. In one of the recordings, Annaliese can be heard naming off different demonic figures, one of which being Fleshman, who was a priest in the 1500s that was kicked out of his church for bad behavior. The priests were baffled as Annaliese had no way of knowing this information. In May of 1976, Annaliese's condition grew worse. She would begin banging her head against the wall, as well as biting herself and others, and it got to a point where her family had to tie her up to keep her from hurting herself. She would also refuse to eat as she was not permitted to eat. The young woman was very frail at the time and only weighed about 60 pounds, but she still somehow showed great strength. By June, Annaliese's entire face was sunken in. She had a very high fever, but she refused to see a doctor. On June 30th, 1976, she would have her second exorcism, and only speaking the words, "Please, absolution." That following morning, her family would walk into her bedroom and find her dead. The young woman had stopped seeking medical attention, as her and her family had put all of their faith into the exorcisms. The autopsy report would determine that Annaliese had passed away due to malnourishment and dehydration. She passed at the young age of 23, having 67 exorcisms and only weighing 68 pounds at the time of her death. She also suffered from broken knees and somehow had contracted pneumonia. Following her death, her parents, along with the two priests involved, would be accused of negligent homicide and would be found guilty. They were sentenced to 6 months in jail and reduced to 3 years of probation as well as a fine. After the trial, Joseph Michel would pass away in 1999, and mysteriously, on June 6, 2013, a fire would engulf the Michel's family home. Police determined that it was a case of arson. However, many believe that it was related to the exorcism case. What do you guys think about this story? I personally think that it's really sad. I can kind of see both sides of perspective. Like, in one way, I feel like they kind of neglected her and, pretty much abused her by not taking her to the doctor. And then in another way, I feel like she very well could have been possessed. But it's very sad all around, and this whole topic just really freaks me out. I never made videos on this topic before because of this reason, because I believe in possession. I believe in this stuff, and it really freaks me out. But anyway, this was a request from my dear friend Mike Keeps on here, my longtime subscriber and friend. I hope you enjoyed this video. You wanted me to make a video on people that were possessed, and this was like the top case of possession that I could find. I never made a video on this before, and I thought that now would be the perfect opportunity. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a big old thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Become a morbid maniac. Also, be sure to hit that bell notification. That way you get notified every single time I upload a new video. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.